Alright YouTube, what's going on? We're gonna start a channel basically showing all the customizations that we do to vehicles. A lot of people ask us to show PJ,
Angie,
and basically we're gonna show the build of this GS300. We got some projects coming in. Basically it's gonna be a breakdown, like DIY, how to do it yourself, wrapping cars, starlights, music, tints, everything. No gatekeeping, put it like that. So let's get to the video. So we're gonna be working on her project car, which is her GS300. I know it looks rough right now. We're gonna actually do the wrap today. She's gonna start doing the tints, and we have a double din radio that we're gonna install. So I'm gonna give a breakdown on how we install the radio here. And also, if you guys want to check out Dynamic, there's our boy over here. If you're in the Queens, Long Island area, stop by. Details. We'll also be doing some work for them as well. We'll put the link in the description, and let's get into it. This car came with this double din, but it never came with the bezel. Also, from factory, this car comes with the amp, but the amp was missing from the car. So if you guys want a breakdown, I'll do another video on it. But basically we have the door speakers ran to a separate amp in the trunk as well as the subwoofer. So I basically bypassed the whole factory amp. So I'm just going to show how we're going to install. It's a single din, but it's a swivel screen. And then I'm going to make a custom pocket to put the equalizer in right there. And basically she's tinting the windows so that nobody sees what's going on in here, you know? Okay, so the first thing we're going to take out is the shift knob. She has this one, but factory one, same way, you just twist it out. This head unit can fall out on its own because it doesn't have the bezel. But your factory one would still be up here. So the first thing you're going to have to do is take out this. So you're going to need a panel popper. And you're just going to pry on the top, and it should pop out. And you're gonna have two plugs up here. So unplug this, and this will come out. Your factory unit is gonna be mounted with the controls. So you're gonna have two 10 bolts on the top, right here in the corners. I don't know if you could see that. You might be able to see that. Right there, one 10mm bolt. Another one would be there. We don't have that because it was, I guess, somebody else's project. So you'll take this out, as well as if you open up this bottom piece, you're just gonna tug it and it'll come right out. It might be easier if you put it in neutral, but it's fine. Unplug this, set this to the side. As you see, the radio just fell out. But as well, so you're gonna have two bolts up there, and then on the bottom, let me show you. On the bottom, there's another 10mm bolt right there, and there should be one over there. So take those out, and this will come out with your radio, your factory radio. So we'll do that, and then I'll show you after. Now that you got your bolts out, obviously you would have a factory radio here. Just pull this forward. You're gonna have to disconnect two connections from the top climate control. So do that. And then all your radio plugs, obviously, you know. So then this will come out. Now, when you have the mounting brackets for the aftermarket radio, I would probably suggest keeping these screws, because you're gonna actually use these screws to mount this back to your new aftermarket mounting bracket. With that being said, you have all these wires. There's a amp on the lower passenger side. I would highly suggest probably getting the jumper cable that basically will plug into this and directly wire up to an aftermarket head unit, which would be this. Definitely make your life 10 times easier. But we'll just unplug this for now. So this radio is the only thing we're using from this radio is a signal wire for the back amplifiers that we have, and then a power and ground and remote. Well, remote for back amplifiers, signal to turn on when the car turns on, and power and ground. Because you will probably have to wire in your speaker wires. I'll show you a diagram after, but usually these are all color coordinated. So obviously you see this is white, this one's white and black. So this would be like one door, left front, left rear, right rear, and so on. But like I said, our door speakers in this car, the way we wired them is directly to the back of the amplifier. And like I said, if you guys want a breakdown of that, I'll do another video on that. But yeah, so now you have all this crap out. This one's garbage. This is ass, to be honest with you. But you're gonna take, if you have the jumper cable that'll go for an aftermarket radio, all of this stuff is pretty much unnecessary. The biggest issue with these cars is people don't know how to bypass the factory amp. There's multiple ways of doing it. You would just take the harness from the factory amp and basically run it directly to the radio. But I always tell people not to bypass the factory amp because these speakers need the power from the amplifier in order to work. So our speakers are using our auxiliary amplifier from the back, and that's how we'll get the power for those door speakers. So here is the power wires, and like I said, we only need the ground, the power, and this is our remote. Blue is always remote for the amplifiers if you're gonna put a sub or something. And then this is just a dimmer, so whenever the headlights are on, it'll dim the screen. And yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna chop these and I'm just gonna wire in that harness, and I'll show you when I'm done with that. I already just hooked up the ground because I would probably recommend disconnecting the battery because this is a constant, so this is always going to have power, and this is a constant ground. If you touch these by accident, it's probably not the best thing. You guys don't have to worry about this. This is just different. It's basically power, ground, and remote that I have for the EQ. So basically all I did was connect the ground from my new cable for the new radio to the factory ground, which is from that jump harness, and then a ground from my remote. So the only thing we're going to be using from this new harness, like I said earlier, is illumination. This is your ignition, this is your constant, and your remote. So you pretty much match the color to the aftermarket harness. So yellow, constant, this should be orange, but I guess is the light, blue for your remote, and this one is your accessory from the ignition, so whenever you start the car it goes on. So once you wire all that stuff together, you can pretty much connect this to the head unit. It should turn on. These, the reason why I'm not using these, like I said earlier, these are for each door speaker individually. So you would wire this to part of the harness. They're the same, all aftermarket. The color, you'll just match the colors. But yeah, like I said, another video, I'll explain that if you guys want. So we're just gonna wire this up really quick, and I'm gonna try to relocate all these wires from the EQ and the power wire up here, because the plan for this is gonna be here. I'm gonna cut out the back of this so that this EQ doesn't have to keep being over here. It should fit in here. And then this is the head unit. So it's a single DIN, but it has a touchscreen on it, Apple CarPlay, and that's gonna be there. So that will actually be able to hide the EQ behind, and nobody should be able to see it. So I'm gonna wire this up, and then I'll show you when we're done. So now I have everything connected. All the ground wires are connected. All my powers are connected. Signal and remote. This is actually for the equalizer, but I'm gonna mount everything up here. So once you get to this point, like I said, everything is color coordinated. I personally am just gonna put this nicely and tape all this up so it's nice in the back. I guess it's your preference if you want to leave it like this. Like I said, I'm only using electrical tape because it's all I have right now. It will hold, but I'd probably solder or heat shrink it so you can get a nice good connection, not have to worry about any wires tugging or disconnecting themselves. So yeah, I'm gonna take this up now, and then I'll show you when we're done. Once you get to this point and all the wires are color matched, like I said, I just taped it up. I highly recommend plugging it in to test it. You'll have the power, you'll have the ground, and you'll have the ignition. So it's a great time to test this now, because you don't want to waste your time, hook up everything, and it doesn't work, or you wired something backwards. So we're gonna test this out. And yeah, see, everything was working. And yeah, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this out. I'm gonna run these wires, these coaxials up here, hook all that up, but I'm gonna do it off camera. And also the bezel, I'm gonna, right here we are. I'm gonna cut the back of this so I can fit the EQ in there. I don't know if you guys are interested in seeing that, but I'll probably just do that off camera. And then once I get to installing this, I'll show you guys. So also, side note, if you guys get a head unit that's gonna have like a LTE or 4G, and it comes with this preferably I'd probably put it up here, but you can also just put it in the back. It'll still work the same way. It's just to pick up the signal from your hotspot for the GPS. These are obviously all the wires for the radio. I just taped it up so it's easier. All these are for my EQ that I'm gonna put here with the power. So now you're just gonna put back the 10mm here, 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 and here. But don't forget, like this climate control on the bracket from this, you have to put a Phillips screw and a Phillips screw, and make sure you connect that back. So I'm gonna show you when I bolt this up, put this in here, and put this back. And after that, you just fully assemble it. Well, the head unit's pushed in, locked in. After you put those 4 bolts, it's basically everything in reverse. You'll snap this in, push this in. I just ran the USB temporarily out of here for now, but it's fully functioning. Everything works. And then what I did, hit the EQ right underneath in the back.
We forgot to include an outro, so here's the GS now with the finished radio. We had some issue figuring out the Z-Link so it could connect to iPhone, but once that was all figured out and the install was done, we added LEDs in the cluster and climate screen. These slight mods did make a difference on the overall interior of the GS, and we have way more projects planned, so stay tuned.